r/AskReddit by Redmond Dtes. What has been irrevocably harmed because of how it's portrayed in the media? CPR. People think that CPR brings people back to life, when only 2% of people receiving basic CPR alone will survive. But alone is the key word. You keep doing CPR until the ambulance arrives and they start advanced CPR, which has better chances of survival. And when the person recovers from heart arrest, they don't gasp, open their eyes, and start talking like normal. They might need weeks to recover and lots of physical therapy after they are discharged. OCD is so different from how it's portrayed. It's not being neat. There's many different types, and they all involve extremely strong anxiety and the feeling that you're the only person who can prevent something terrible. It can also manifest as a swarm of uncontrollable horrible thoughts you don't want to have, which make you question if you're a good person. Edit. An obsession can be literally anything, even something as simple as feeling uncomfortable, and a compulsion can also be anything, even just thinking a certain thought. I met a dude with legitimate OCD, and it opened my eyes. And he was like, yeah, I hate everyone LARPing being OCD, because they like to be tidy. Jaws was massively detrimental to shark conservation. New Yorkers bite more people annually than sharks. I think it's because New Yorkers have difficulty finding sharks to bite. Blind people don't want to touch your face. My sister is blind, and half the people I have introduced to her have asked if she needed to touch their face to see what they look like. She's fucking blind. Why would she care about your bone structure? She's not making masks. Portrayals of Helen Keller really did this one in. She wasn't touching people's faces to feel for what they looked like. She read lips with her fingers. Edit. This has gotten more attention than I thought it would, so I thought I'd slip a little blind etiquette in here. It's cool to ask to shake their hand. They are not going to know if you want to otherwise. If you're moving from one place to another with a blind person, ask if they want you to lead them. If they say yes, ask if they prefer shoulder or elbow. You become their cane at that point. Let them know about weird elevation changes or shit in the way. You can joke about it, but don't be a dick. The sense of humor isn't tied to the sense of sight. My sister once pranked me on a plane by taking the window seat so I wouldn't have anything to look at. Legendary. Blind people don't need to turn the light on in the bathroom. For the love of God, knock. Always knock. The woman who was sent to the hospital by a McDonald's coffee. Discovery uncovered that McD's had trained employees to keep coffee at 180 degrees Fahrenheit, around 20 degrees hotter than the industry standard at the time, and that they had a pattern, over 700 customer complaints over a time frame I can't remember, of burning customers. If you serve as much coffee as McD's does, it's a statistical certainty that people are going to spill it sometimes. The jury found that continuing to serve coffee that hot even after multiple instances of people getting hurt was a breach of McD's responsibility to not injure their customers. That was the core fact of the case. The woman initially asked for McDonald's to cover her medical bills. She needed skin grafts, and McDonald's offered an insultingly low compensation. It wasn't until she was out of options that she decided to litigate. Instead, media and pop culture depicted her as someone who spilled a little bit of coffee on herself and saw dollar signs. McDonald's put a lot of money into making sure this is the version of the story that became well known. Just to add a bit more, she received third-degree burns on her thighs, butt, and groin area, which is why she needed the aforementioned skin grafts. The court documents use the phrase fused labia. Nuclear power. Yes, this. And I hate how movies and cartoons portray the steam coming out of the towers as radioactive nuclear waste. It's just water vapor. And I hate how people fear nuclear power because they are uneducated on radiation. Chernobyl melted down because the Soviets cut corners and used cheap materials. and the people inside were very stupidly doing the tests on reactor 4 while all the safety systems were off and while the power was at a very low unstable level. Because the power levels were low, the failsafes were not able to work properly and contain the reaction. This led to an enormous surge in power that even the emergency shut-off button, AZ5, couldn't stop. That was all because of human idiocy and cheap materials. This isn't the answer you were expecting, but the public library. It's an institution dedicated to providing free services to everyone regardless of age, gender, income, religion, or color. They provide so much more than books. You can use a computer, check out movies and music, get help with resumes, and applying for social services benefits. Hell, you can just sit and chill all day long and no one will bat an eye, but the media continues to harp on the mean librarian who shushes everyone. I've spent over 15 years working in libraries. I have never once shushed a person. The perception of what a library is and what it does is so incredibly outdated in the eyes of the media, and because of this perception many people will miss out on all the free services. Jury trials. Because of TV forensics, every juror now expects the big smoking gun that puts every bad guy away, and that only happens less than half the time. Add to that polygraph tests and visual witnesses. They are actually very unreliable. The true nature of pirates. They aren't some jolly band sailing the seas looking for adventure. They are desperate criminals who will kill you and take your shit. A lot of mental health related things. Like people thinking schizophrenia is the same as dissociative identity disorder, or that people with mental health issues are inherently unstable or dangerous. Norse history. AKA Vikings. All those poor bastards who became architects because of the way TV and movies portrayed the career as some jet-set playboy lifestyle. Suppressors or silencers in movies and TV. No, they aren't whisper quiet. They're really just hearing protection and not some super assassin accessory. Also, they are unregulated in a lot of Europe because they understand it as a safety issue. I don't know about irrevocably, but the way autism has often been portrayed drives me up a wall. Numerous shows and movies have ran with the trope of autism being a superpower and that people on the spectrum have genius IQs. I'm on the spectrum. I've had a Rubik's Cube for 2 years and still haven't cracked it yet. I honestly think my intellect is average at best. I didn't go to child therapy for years because I had a superpower. I went because I have a disability. The Predator, for example. Not only is it a shitty movie, but its suggestion that autism is the next step in the evolutionary chain made me wanna punch a hole in the screen. Edit. I also want to add that this autistic genius stereotype is not only bogus but also harmful. It invalidates the struggles of those who are on the spectrum and can cause children to place unrealistic expectations on themselves to live up to the genius image. New Orleans after Katrina. I was there right after, and all the stories of shooting, looting, rioting were overblown. The media ignored thousands of us helping people in need and uniting together to rebuild and help each other. Huge group of people putting up tents, feeding people, treating people medically, supporting each other. News was sitting there not even bothering, but suddenly 2 dudes run down the street carrying a stolen TV. Every news agency turned those cameras on to follow them. They made the whole city sound crazy, dangerous, and a cesspool. New Orleans relies on tourism more than most cities, so people assuming it was that bad meant a huge drop in tourist numbers after Katrina. People had to close businesses, lose jobs, move away because of the large drop in income. This in turn made a lot of people turn to crime and desperate actions, and ironically made the city actually more dangerous. So many areas that should have had money to rebuild didn't get money or enough money because tax and tourist revenue tanked. It still hasn't fully recovered to this day. TLDR, media ignoring most of the good going on. making overblown rhetoric on New Orleans, and outright lies about how dangerous it was ruined a tourist city's rep, and caused it to actually become more dangerous and completely destroyed thousands upon thousands of lives, all for views. The plumbing profession. It's a pretty high-paying, very stable career that is severely struggling to find and train new people, largely because it's been a joke in the media for decades. Mexico has the greatest biodiversity in the world, but people wouldn't know it, since every media depiction is a barren desert wasteland with the sepia filter on. Edit. Alright, maybe greatest was the best term. Quick Google search showed I was wrong. So maybe widest is better. Hacking. It's not nearly as flashy in real life. Science. We work hard every day to try and make people's lives better on so many levels, and now we have a bunch of assholes saying we don't know what we are talking about and are only trying to rip them off. Disgusting, pathetic, and really hard to swallow. Chinese food because of the demonization of MSG. Meanwhile, just about every other type of food uses it, except for Chinese food now. All your favorite snacks and fast foods have loads of MSG in them. Worldview. So many people, at least in America, are terrified of the world and anything outside of their little suburb, because all they hear about is the crime and the shootings, since that's all the news talks about. Lots of shit, but I'm going to list one that's not so obvious: diabetes, specifically how you treat a low. I'm a type 1 diabetic, and most people don't know the difference between this and type 2, which is more common, but does not typically lead to crashing out on the floor at Walmart. And every single one of us lives in abject fear of having an extreme low in public. Not because of the passing out thing, we are used to that, but because the media has everyone thinking you treat a low with insulin. This will kill us before the ambulance ever shows up. You treat a low with sugar, not insulin. You grab them something with sugar, a soda will work. I can't describe the feeling of going unconscious in public, knowing I can't help myself right then, and can't articulate what I need help with, and hearing the words, "She's diabetic, where's her insulin?" I'm fighting to stay alive knowing that, if anyone gives me insulin, I'm going to be dead within 15 minutes. Best rule. Never give anyone insulin, unless you're their caregiver. You don't pass out from being too high, you crash from being low. Insulin lowers blood glucose. You either offer sugar, if conscious, or you do nothing, and just wait for emergency medical services. The welfare system in the United States. Reagan's depiction of the so-called welfare queen, that the media ran with, is still poisoning the world to this day. That's all, folks. Thank you for watching. If you like videos like this one, why not like and subscribe for more? Have a nice evening.